With a three-way battle for the championship turning into a match race, we have snaked our way up to the Finger Lakes region of the Empire State for the 13th and final race of Segment 1 here of the Fast Racing League 2026 season. Hi, hello, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Watkins Glen, New York. We welcome you to the Watkins Glen International for the 13th and final race of Segment number 1 for the 2026 season of the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series, the Road Racing Rumble here at Watkins Glen International. A pleasant good evening and happy Mother's Day to everybody tuning in to tonight's broadcast here of the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series here on the North American Sim Racing Network. My name is Trey Wright for the North American Sim Racing Network. We are ready to rock and roll at this beautiful road course, one of the best road courses in the United States of America, if not the best road course in the United States of America. It's going to be 32 laps here tonight in the Finger Lakes region of the Empire State. We saw Shane Van Gisbergen claim victory yesterday or earlier on this afternoon here at Watkins Glen International. And tonight, we will not only crown a winner, we will crown a champion here in the Finger Lakes region of the Empire State, as we'll get our ticker nice and loaded up here. And no surprise to see the Bulldog, who was undefeated on the road course in the Fast Racing League last year. That man right there, that Liquid Death number 6 Chevrolet Camaro. Zach Rogers, top of the charts with a 1 minute and 9 second lap time, half a second faster than Randall Coleman, who's currently second on the board, right behind that 6 car. We know how good Zach Rogers is in the Fast Racing League, particularly on these road courses. He's kind of like the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series' own Shane Van Gisbergen, and we'll see what he is able to do here in car number 6, but the main story coming into tonight is this championship here for Segment 1. We take a look at the chase standings after the 12th race of the season. And Don LaPrade, Joshua Moyers, and Randall Coleman, after an incredible race at the Texas Motor Speedway 1 week ago, they are only separated by 3 points, but it is a match race, as Don LaPrade unfortunately will not be here in the race tonight. We do wish the best of luck to him in his extenuating circumstances. We know that he's going to be tuning in to see who's going to duke it out between the Revolution Motorsports teammates of Joshua Moyers and Randall Coleman. Moyers comes in 1 point ahead of Randall Coleman, and it's essentially going to be whoever finishes the highest of that duo will win this championship. Got John Foreman and Tyler Stallhood have made their way. They have been faltering more towards the back, and it's going to be really fun to see which of these guys ends up hoisting the championship here in segment number 1 here for the chase. We got 8 drivers in the server so far. There's Connor Edwards in the 02 machine, his best lap of 1:13.474. And Tyler Stallhood, like we mentioned, he's at Justin Allgaier Exalta Chevrolet for Revolution Motorsports, trying to get things going in that number 7 machine. Back in the Busch Light colors. That he won with in dominating fashion 1 week ago is Joshua Moyers in the number 68 car. We saw Randall Coleman. He has ditched the Amazon Prime colors, going back to the Napa. Beautiful Chase Elliott paint scheme, trying to channel his inner road course dominant Chase Elliott in that Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet for Revolution Motorsports. Like we said, Zach Rogers in the Liquid Death number 6 car, as he just about hits the Sam Hornish Jr. Memorial corner there out of the bus stop, out of the carousel, I should say. There's John Foreman in the 70 after we thought he had won in that Switchfoot number 70 car last week at Texas, but he is hoping to try and get an actual win here. We saw him win earlier this season at Bristol, and a couple other cars have made their way out on track. We've got H.B. Hardy in the number 23 Hardy's machine. He's going to be out here. He's currently 4th on the pylon. James Moore's out here in the 07 as well. Same thing with Blake Warren in the 12. Currently 8 cars in the server. We mentioned Tate Dorsey and maybe Ike Durbin. A couple other drivers might trickle in a little bit later here, as we still have 5 minutes to go in practice. But Watkins Glen is nothing short of a fantastic track. And I can know because, hey, you go back a couple of days ago, Friday morning in the snow up in Watkins Glen, New York, I walked half of the track. For those who don't know, I was helping out with the Bobby Dale Earnhardt 89 car for the ARCA Menard series, and to say that Friday was a total adventure would be a massive, massive understatement. But certainly no quit in the Rise Racing program for that Bobby Dale Earnhardt program as Tyler Stallhood goes through the bus stop, as Doug Rice once famously said in the NASCAR the Game 2011 career mode intro, that's not particularly a place you want to drop off your kids at school. Joshua Moyers will make his way into turn number 6 and off towards turn number 7 here with about 4 minutes to go in practice. We're going to go on board Joshua Moyers, and we take you for a lap around Watkins Glen International. We got the track map down below here going into the 90. Downhill corner, heavy braking there into the zone. And fortunately, no tire barrier runoff here on the runoff for these drivers. So these guys are able to use as much room as you can up the massive amount of uphill battle there, up through the S's and towards the back straightaway, out through turn number 4 and off towards the inner loop, the infamous bus stop there. Moyers is going to not do the greatest job. He's actually going to pull a Sheldon Creed and pretty much knock that car into space. Down through the carousel they go. This downhill section, no track limits coming out of the carousel either through turn 5. Off in the short chute towards turn number 6. That's where I did a little spotting there in that grandstand up on the right-hand side. Big lockup area there through turn number 6 and off and running towards turn number 7. To give us a full lap here at the greatest road course in the United States of America. I don't care what anybody says. That is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That Watkins Glen is incredible, and Joshua Moyers is going to do his best Denny Hamlin / Jimmy Johnson impression. That's how you know we're just about ready to go here in the Finger Lakes. There's Blake Warren out on track, and he is going to go into the Bradley Ream Memorial Corner going out of the carousel. Same with Zach Rogers there in the 6 machine. So we got our NAR, louder audio back up and running. But this is going to be very interesting as Joshua Moyers has actually usurped Zach Rogers off of the top of the board with that lap that we showed there. You know, hey, there's no track limits here. In the Fast Racing League, if I'm not mistaken, he ran a 1 minute and 8 second lap, shaving half a second off of Zach Rogers' best time and really beating the crap out of Randall Coleman's best time by 9/10 of a second there. So Joshua Moyers is certainly going to be one to watch here tonight. 3 wins on the season in the opening 12 races, and of course comes in as the de facto points leader. He whips his way out of turn number 7 down this long front straightaway once again. We'll see if we'll get any more stragglers in this race, but tonight is going to be interesting. Not only are we turning right and left, but road course racing here, especially in the Fast Racing League, always puts on a show because of one major factor, tire wear. You take a look at the race analysis for tonight. We're expecting about maybe a second to a second and a half of tire fall off here in tonight's 32 lap event. And these guys are only going to do about maybe 16 or 17 laps, so they're going to stay out for stage number 1. They're going to come in halfway through stage number 2, which the stage is ending on laps 10 and 20. So some crucial bonus points to be added there for both Randall Coleman and Joshua Moyers. That tire fall off is really going to come into play, particularly with these next-gen automobiles. And we saw it earlier today, just how effective fresh rubber can be when Shane Van Gisbergen had slightly better rubber than everybody in the field at Watkins Glen earlier in the Cup race. He blitzed from being 29 seconds back to winning by 7 seconds earlier today here in the Go Bowling at the Glen. And incredibly, I didn't even realize that race was 100 laps until I turned on my phone at work, as Joshua Moyers is going to take the best time here in practice, as practice will come to a close. We got 9 cars in the server. Like we said, we'll hopefully get a couple more as Blake Warren goes into the Denny Hamlin Memorial Tire Barrier. Or the, who's the guy on the Michael Maples MBM1 car, Andrew Raquet, or something like that. Turn number 1 was the Andrew Raquet Memorial Corner here at Watkins Glen for the amount of times that one car hit the inside wall, or just spun out in practice for the ARCA race. And the exit of turn number 1 is the Bobby Earnhardt Memorial Corner. After just, I'll save my rant during the middle part of the race, but suffice it to say, whoever decided that we should hold Watkins Glen Mother's Day weekend clearly has never been to the Finger Lakes. And ultimately, oh Lord, oh my Lord, Joshua Moyers is unfortunately deceased, and so is about half the grandstand in front of him. That's how you know we're ready to get underway here in the Finger Lakes, as coming up after this, happy hour and the final little tune-up here for these drivers. Going into happy hour and going into the 13th and final race of the season here in segment 1 of 2026 here in the NR2003 Fast Racing League Renegade Pro Cup Series here on the North American Sim Racing Network's coverage of the Fast Racing League here tonight from Watkins Glen.
User was moved to your channel. You were moved.
And we're back here at Watkins Glen International. Joshua Moyers taking the pole position by 1/10 of a second over Zach Rogers here for the 10-car field for tonight's race here on the North American Sim Racing Network. We're in the middle of happy hour right now, and we are ready to rock and roll. Here for tonight, there is Zach Rogers, who will sit on the outside pole position in the Liquid Death number 6. And Tate Dorsey just coming in late in the server there in car number 64. And there is the pole sitter getting the best seat in the house. That inside lane right off of the start is so crucial here at the Glen. And Joshua Moyers is going to have a really great shot to get the job done here tonight, but Zach Rogers, we know how well he is on these road courses, and he is going to be a force to be reckoned with here tonight as we take a look at the starting lineup here for tonight's Road Racing Rumble at the Glen. 10 starters this evening with Joshua Moyers and Zach Rogers in row number 1. Randall Coleman and H.B. Hardy will be in row 2. Tyler Stallhood and James Moore will be row 3. John Foreman and Blake Warren row number 4. Tate Dorsey and Connor Edwards will round out the 10-car grid in row numero 5 here for tonight's race. One final look at our race analysis. Once again, like we were talking about, tire fall-off is going to be something to watch out for a lot here tonight. Watch these guys to really duck down the pit lane towards the middle portion of this race. Like we said, about 16 to 17 laps on a tank of fuel. Tires might be a little bit less than that, so this race does go caution-free to the very end. I don't know, it's going to be very interesting with the tire strategy and just everything here. Because again, 16 to 17 laps, that's right at the halfway point of this race. It's going to be interesting, and this track is interesting. 7 corners, all of them named. The 90 in turn 1, the S's through turns 2, 3, and 4, the inner loop, a.k.a. the bus stop. Then going into the carousel there in turn number 5, turn number 6, and while it's not quite Taco Bell turn 7 here at this version of Watkins Glen, it is certainly going to be interesting to see these guys roll out of that final corner here tonight at Watkins Glen International. And what a season it has been. We have carried the last couple of races here for the Fast Racing League. We're proud to be a part of it. And we are proud to be a part of hopefully a lot of the races next season. Is with Segment 2 up on the horizon. Speaking of which, well, we've got a little bit of time here. We'll reveal the Segment 2 schedule for the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series beginning right off of the hop next weekend at the Hickory Motor Speedway on Sunday, May 17th, right here on the NESRN. And still a couple of events TBD in terms of when they will be broadcasted and which events will be covered. But for the most part, those should be some relatively accurate dates for when the races will at least be broadcasted. But we've got quite an assortment of tracks, mostly staying true to what we've got in real-life NASCAR, aside from, we got Hickory next week, instead of going to the Dover Motor Speedway. But then we'll go to Charlotte for the Quasi 600 race. Then we go to Nashville on Sunday, May 31st. Then Michigan, then Pocono. And then we go on the race on Sunday the 21st on Father's Day weekend. That's going to be peculiar because we're not sure whether that's going to end up being the San Diego road course for the Qualicom Raceway out on the Coronado Air Base. That's catching some air, and going up through the catch fence was Joshua Moyers. We'll go over the rest of the schedule, but that is really going to depend on if that track is created in NR2003 yet here. We'll get our camera recalibrated thanks to Zach Rogers. Of course, Zach has had a really fruitful history here at Watkins Glen. You go back to the Fuel Racing League race we had a little bit earlier on in the year. All the way back, that was all the way back in 2025, so it's certainly been a while since Zach Rogers has been to Watkins Glen, but overall he has had fun. He dominated that race back in season number 7 of the Fuel Grand National Series, and a pretty good battle towards the end there with HB Hardy in the Death Craver 90K. But we are ready to rock and roll here at Watkins Glen, and when we come back here, it's going to be time to turn them on and grid them up for race number 13 of the season, the final race of segment number 1 of 2026, the Road Racing Rumble here from Watkins Glen. And we're going to send it downstairs towards the back straightaway.
Drivers, to your cars.
As drivers have been called to their cars. They're in the short chute, and we are ready to rock and roll for 32 laps here in the Finger Lakes region of New York as we send things down trackside for the most famous words in motorsports. Fire the engines for the 13th and final time in segment number 1 here for the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series here at Watkins Glen International.
Drivers, start your engines.
And we are ready to go here. 32 laps up on the board here in the Finger Lakes region of the Empire State. Joshua Moyers, who only needs to finish one position ahead of Randall Coleman to claim the championship. He starts from the pole position here tonight. Zach Rogers starting on the outside pole. Randall Coleman in row number 3, right behind his championship adversary, along with HB Hardy in that 4th spot. Pace car heading down the pit lane. Here we are. We're already through the Geico restart zone. Green flag out and away. Let's go racing here at the Glen. Zach Rogers already late braking through the opening set of corners. And the Bulldog shows the way, going up through the S's for the opening time. Up through the gearbox they go. Rogers leads, Moyers right behind him, and you got Randall Coleman right behind his championship adversary as they thunder on through. Up towards the bus stop for the first time under speed here in tonight's 32-lap event. Rogers will lead the field through the inner loop, and everybody able to get underway, with Connor Edwards currently caboosing the back end of the field. We'll get the happy hour graphic off and away so we can get a little bit of a cleaner screen right off of the hop. And Zach Rogers, nice and easy through the carousel, and here we go. Randall Coleman right behind Joshua Moyers, and already this fight for the championship is going to get zesty here as they're going through turn number 6 through turn number 7 for the opening time. And underneath the GoBowling.com bridge they go. Joshua Moyers, he is going to lose a spot on the pylon, but he right now would be the champion. And Zach Rogers beginning to pull away ever so slightly in that Liquid Death 6 car. Rogers looking like money right now with Revolution Motorsports running 1, 2, 3 and trying to make it 1, 2, 3, 4 is that 7 machine of Tyler Stallhood, currently on the outside of 5th. He's just about going to barely lose it going on the rumble strips, able to make a nice save in that 7 car. It's right on the tail of HB Hardy, and now Rogers beginning to fall back a little bit there, nearly into the clutches of Joshua Moyers as he's trying to catch up to that 6 machine, but Coleman right on the back end of that 68, right behind his teammate. You're on board with the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet of Randall Coleman. This is the battle for the championship that we're going to be watching all evening long. And going into these last set of corners, Moyers, we're noticing him to be really late braking a lot in that Busch Light number 68, trying to put the power down on the inside of the corner. And he's gained a little bit of time there on that Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet. And the Chevy's running really beautiful right now. 4 out of the top 5 positions with Zach Rogers overdriving the corner a little bit. He's going to carry his momentum going up through the S's. Oh, a little bit of wheel spin there into the 68. He got just barely out of shape going up through the S's through turn 3. And onto the back straightaway they go, and Moyers starting to put a little bit of distance between himself and Coleman, and the top 3 have really established themselves as the cars to beat. Rogers beginning to run out of dodge with Moyers hot on his heel, and meanwhile this battle for the top 5 as Tate Dorsey just about blows the bus stop, and he is going to lose a spot to the 07 of James Moore. We got 1 car around as Tyler Stallhood doing donuts in the J.D. McDuffie Memorial Corner. He'll transition back onto the track. He was running in 5th at the time. He will fall all the way down into the 10th spot. We saw those early race troubles 1 week ago at the Texas Motor Speedway, and it looks like they're going to come back to bite him once again. As Stallhood, the Fuel Racing League admin, will try to make his way around Connor Edwards. He will successfully maneuver around that Warren Wentz Racing 02 machine. And he'll be up into 9th, trying to recover as much ground as he can, but no cautions on the board just yet. I would re-rack the field. John Foreman has slipped back into the 5th position. Slipped up, or risen up into the 5th position, I should say. James Moore and Tate Dorsey on top of one another. Dorsey being really aggressive early on, right on the back end of the 07. And meanwhile, it's really been a match race here between this 6 and 68 cars as Randall Coleman starting to save a little bit of his stuff here. The later on we get into the run. Again, we're already on lap number 4, and it might not seem like it, but these laps here at Watkins Glen do go by relatively fast. We're already going to be on lap number 5 with 4 laps in the books. Of the 32 laps here tonight, it's only going to be about maybe just over a half an hour if this race goes green the whole time the way these guys are running. You know, Rogers running 1/10 that last time by. He was 0.2 of a second faster than Joshua Moyers. And he's got a half a second lead to make it a 0.7 of a second lead over that 68 car, and he's starting to open up the gap a little bit over his teammate. So we'll see that 6 cars able to do. Oh yeah, he had a really fantastic set of S's, and that's where we've seen Moyers start to struggle a lot here. Is going up through the S's, and if you struggle going up through the S's, that's really going to kill the rest of your lap. You need to have a really good exit, or apex and exit of the S's here at Watkins Glen to set yourself up for the rest of the lap, and That's what Moyers is really struggling with early on in these first opening 5 laps. And Randall Coleman also struggling a little bit. He was 2 seconds behind that 6 car that last time by, and we'll see how much further he will fall as the back end just about stepping out of that 68 car. And he is going to remain in that 2nd spot halfway home through stage number 1 here at the Glen. In case you're just tuning in, you haven't missed anything as Tyler Stallhood coming down the pit lane, I believe. That's going to put him really behind the 8 ball. Saw James Moore, I believe he is also slipped back there in the 07 as Connor Edwards was able to get around him to put himself inside the top 8 for the 02. Blake Warren in his own zip code right now. He's got his teammate trending a little bit more towards the back of him. Blake running a little bit wide going through the 90 in that 7th spot. And now Tyler Stallhood in danger being in the way of all these drivers, and really no updates yet of the lap times I'm trying to see, because Stallhood certainly a lot more than 28 seconds behind this 6 machine. So I'm waiting to see, this next time around if it adjusts. As James Moore down the pit lane as well in the 07, just about losing it off the corner there was Stallhood. Opening 3 cars, running 1, 2, 3, fanning out with one another, and Stallhood indeed did come down the pit lane. James Moore also comes down the pit lane, so that will put him as right now the first and so far only car 1 lap down, as Moyers is going to hang the left side tires into the grass, doing a little bit of agricultural work here. And again, if you've never been to Watkins Glen, this place is absolutely beautiful. Not just the track itself, but the surrounding countryside. You can see the hills there rolling. It is just so beautiful here in upstate New York, just about an hour north of Elmira. About half an hour north of Horseheads. This is just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. And there's a beautiful facility. It's one of my favorite tracks. It's the 3rd closest track that I'm close to here in the great Garden State of New Jersey. Of course, the closest is Pocono, an hour and a half away from me. And then you got the Dover Motor Speedway, which we will not be racing at next week here in the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series. And essentially NASCAR won't, at least the Cup Series won't, because, hey, funny is Dover All-Star Race is funny, but something was not funny there was Randall Coleman with a severe lockup going through turn 1. And that's going to cost him not only a lot of time, but quite a little bit of ground and maybe even some tire wear on that 68 car, and that is really big in terms of the championship. Tyler Stallhood in the way of his other 3 teammates. Rogers going to do a little agricultural work himself, trying to find a way around that Exalta number 7 machine. And you know what? Revolution Motorsports, they're at least all in line with one another. They're just, unfortunately for them, not all on the same sheet of music lap-wise. And now, trying to navigate around lap traffic is Rogers. I imagine Stallhood will most likely stick drivers right coming out through the final set of corners here. He's going to remain out in front. He's trying to stay on the lead lap if we catch a caution. You see the peanut gallery back through there, and Stallhood will remain drivers left, and that'll allow Joshua Moyers to pull in a little bit there on that 6 car. He's got it down to within half a second. We have seen Zach Rogers dominate here in the Fast Racing League, and if you've been watching the NASRN's live broadcast here over the last year or so, you will know just how dominant Zach Rogers is. And for Joshua Moyers to be right on his 6 o'clock for as long as he has in this race, as Tyler Stallhood just got very squirrely there going through the bus stop. But he is going to be 1 lap down. He is going to be in the spot for a lucky dog, and we'll notice that we'll pay attention to that sign on the first caution if we ever get one. But some of the signage around this track is peak genius. We got that the one sign coming out of where the boot would normally be on the longer version of this track. We get a sign that says, hey, Brian France, lucky dog this. You go back to the original version of this track. I'm not sure if on this version in the tower in turn 1, if there is a tower in turn 1, as trying to get my keyboard going. Oh, my keyboard dies. That would be very unfortunate as we're here on lap number 10, final lap of stage number 1. And right now, Joshua Moyers would love to get a couple additional stage points over Randall Coleman, his championship adversary. Whoa, very loose going through the inner loop there was Stolhood, and that's going to cost Coleman even more time there in the 9. He'll post his way down to the low side there, and he'll get around his teammate. But that's just going to be a little bit more breathing room here for Joshua Moyers, who came in 1 point ahead of Randall Coleman. And coming around here to claim the opening stage of the night. That'll put the 9 car 2 points behind the 68 machine. It'll make his job to try and win this championship a little bit harder as Zach Rogers leads every single lap of stage number 1. We're off and running here in this second stage, just about 5 laps away from the opening set of pit stops here tonight in Tyler Stolhood. That back end really swinging out a ton. And he is trying to get some sort of mojo. He is absolutely looking for a caution here. You know, I'm going to jinx it when I say this, but we really don't get a whole lot of cautions here at Watkins Glen. You know, most of the incidences that we've got here are mostly just single car incidents. You know, if we do get a multi, that will constitute as a yellow flag, but the only real incident we've seen tonight is Tate Dorsey is just trying to disprove that theory by James Moore doing some pretty electric drive in there between the 64 and 07 cars. He nearly clips the corner there coming out of the carousel of 5, but, you know, you make a mistake, it's really going to cost you, particularly at a track like Watkins Glen. And, you know, Stolhood is in position as Coleman. He way overdrove the corner in the 90. And that's just going to cost him even more time. And this has not been the start of the race that Randall Coleman wanted. But he is still right in the wings trying to get around this 68 car. But Joshua Moyers has just been really, really, really faster here throughout the night so far tonight. He has proven that he has been able to keep up with the pace that Zach Rogers has been able to settle here. Rogers going around through the carousel. Showing a little bit of age there as Moyers trying to run a little bit wider of an exit there out of the carousel, trying to carry a little bit more momentum. But what you got to really do when you're racing Zach Rogers and you're really racing him, you're just trying to follow in his line. And you're just trying to find any more grip that you can. With 3 laps to go until this pit window is officially going to open here. You know, you're just trying to find his line. You're just trying to say, okay, what are the weaknesses? Where can I capitalize? Where can I try and break a little bit later? As that was not a great 90 there from Moyers, and he's going to lose a couple tenths there going up through the S's. And that's going to give this 6 car a little bit more breathing room than Joshua Moyers would have wanted as we go off the back end of Zach Rogers. And we'll see the other side of Watkins Glen from the back end of this 6 machine. Moyers about going slideways, going through the bus stop. No crossing guards there, fortunately. At this time of year, there might be a crossing guard or 2. But overall, I think this is going to be the best lead, the biggest lead of the night so far here for Zach Rogers coming around this time by. As we approach halfway home through the Road Racing Rumble here tonight on the North American Sim Racing Network's coverage, the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series. And now we're starting to see that tire wear come into play for a lot of these guys. You know, for Joshua Moyers, his best lap was a 1:10.664, and he is about a second off the pace right now a little bit, or just in terms of the fall off. So that tire fall off certainly coming into play. Rogers' last lap was a 1:11. His best lap time was a 1:10, so he's only about maybe 0.6 of a second off. So that we know how well Zach Rogers is at saving his stuff and conserving what he's got. But so far, only 2 cars have made a pit stop here this evening. Those being Tyler Stallhood, who has gotten into a little bit of trouble, and he has fallen back into the clutches of HB Hardy, and James Moore, who is currently 1 lap down as well, as Moore is trying to break back within 1 second behind Rogers, who is just cruising around here in this 6 machine. And we talked about it right at the top of the show. Zach Rogers, the Bulldog, is a little bit like Shane Van Gisbergen, where he is absolutely unstoppable on these road courses, particularly in the late stages of runs like these. We're 15 laps into this run. Got Connor Edwards on the horizon. We're going to see when Rogers does, in fact, come down the pit lane to try to pit here for fuel, because this time this is where the window is officially going to open for these drivers. But I don't know if I would see, well, we are going to get a couple of drivers taking the undercut. James Moore and Tate Dorsey here on lap 15. That's going to get us them about maybe 17 laps until the end. They might have to come down twice. You know, based on how Rogers hasn't fallen off as hard as everybody else, as Randall Coleman, not sure where he went. There he is in the pit lane. Coleman also coming down here this time by. There is Rogers. Joshua Moyers will come down to split this race right in half. And I don't know, Randall Coleman, I think he had some sort of issue in the 9 machine, because Rogers was just coming around the pit lane. That is tough. We'll go ahead and take a live replay and see what happened there to Randall Coleman. If it in fact was an incident, that would essentially be the championship right there, and it was an incident. We'll take a look at the live replay going through the bus stop. And this was just about 45 seconds ago. Oh, he blew a tire going through the bus stop and pounds the tire wall. And he got stuck. That is huge. He got in the other tire wall as well, and that is so unfortunate for Randall Coleman. And he had to get towed. He has fallen back to 5th. John Foreman and HB Hardy also coming down. And if you're Joshua Moyers, you know, I'm sorry. I feel like Fox for missing probably the championship deciding moment of the race. But again, if you're Joshua Moyers, you know, you run your own strategy. You know, you run the conservative strategy. If you've got to come down once again, you come down once again. Because right now, as long as Joshua Moyers keeps all 4 good years underneath of him, he's going to end up being the champion, especially coming up and picking up these stage points here shortly. But that is so gut-wrenching for Randall Coleman here. And Zach Rogers, right at the halfway point of this race, will cut this race diametrically in half. And Zach Rogers out and away in that Liquid Death number 6 machine, and we'll see if Joshua Moyers is able to catch up to him. It is not looking likely. Coming out of the pit lane is that number 6 car. He'll be out and away. And Moyers is going to be quite a little far back, and that might essentially give Zach Rogers this race win, because mathematically, he should be able to go here. But you go back to Randall Coleman. We mentioned it earlier, him locking up in the 90 a couple of different times. You know, that tire wear is eventually going to cost you going that late into a run. And it happened at the worst possible time, going through the bus stop that right-left section where you need to have a properly steering race car. And unfortunately, that's going to take Randall Coleman out of the race. He's already 1 lap down, and he's likely going to stay 1 lap down as Connor Edwards is ahead of him. Now, the big question is, if we do get a caution flag, Connor Edwards, he's a lap down, and he's way far ahead of the 9 car, so he would be the lucky dog. The way things run right now, we have 7 cars on the lead lap of the 10 still in the race. As it's not still in the race. All 10 cars are still in the race here. It's James Moore, who is still 1 lap down, trying to maneuver his car around Tyler Stallhood, who's back on the lead lap, albeit a little bit off strategy. And now John Foreman back down the pit lane. I don't hate this move out of John Foreman. Pitting now with 15 to go. And we'll see if he'll stay on the lead lap. I don't know. He might just try and get a splash and go just to make it to the end. Maybe just take half a can. No, he is going to be taking tires. And he will go a lap down here. It was a black flag anyway, so John Foreman didn't have any decision. So you know what? He might as well take 4 tires. But that's going to knock John Foreman out of potentially getting a top 5 finish after this is all said and done. God, Watkins Glen always puts on the most intriguing races. You don't always need a Maverick level, poop show where you got 10 cautions on a road course in a 30-lap span to really put on a fantastic performance. And whoa, that was not fantastic there. Had a Stallhood or James Moore. Is that going to be a multi? Those two got together. That was right in the path of Zach Rogers, and he's got to run a little bit off his line as James Moore was transitioning back on. Well, that could have been dangerous there, and fortunately they were able to get out of the way of Rogers, who has led all 18 laps so far here tonight. And Rogers having his biggest pucker moment there, pucker value moment there, as he was just about to run over that 07 machine as he was spinning going there through the bus stop. But we remain green here at Watkins Glen, 13 laps to go. And the gap now between Joshua Moyers and Zach Rogers, it was at 5.2 seconds that last time by, and I believe it's probably going to remain about the same. No, it's 7.6 seconds, the gap between Rogers and Moyers. That makes sense. Rogers is able to officially make it to the end here based on him pitting at the halfway point, and Joshua Moyers came in 1 lap earlier than Rogers, and he's just trying to take it easy right now, given that he's essentially got this championship in the bag the way that he's running. He just needs to run 12 and a half just decent laps. You just got to baby it around there. That's all you got to do to win this championship if you're Joshua Moyers, is baby it around. Don't worry about trying to beat Zach Rogers on a road course. It's like trying, I don't know, and Rogers, he's going to turn his teammate Tyler Stallhood going around through turn number 7. I don't know about that. I don't think Tyler's going to be too happy about that. And the Revolution Motorsports teammates getting into each other a little bit. I don't see any damage on that Camaro, as Stallhood, who was on the lead lap, will fall off of it once again. And now we've got 5 cars on the lead lap that have not ran into a whole lot of issues. How about Blake Warren, who just went a lap down, so that's going to put 4 cars on the lead lap. But Blake running in a top 5 run in a field of 10 cars on a road course of all places. A really good run for Blake. Same thing with Tate Dorsey and Connor Edwards. Unfortunately, he is stuck. Oh boy, this could be an issue. And it looks like he just got teleported back to the pit lane. I guess Connor Edwards lost reverse there. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but overall, goodness gracious, what a race we have had so far here tonight, and Zach Rogers dominating this race so far. Here on lap number 22, 11 laps remaining. And Zach Rogers still as doing a little lights motor action work there was Tate Dorsey. As Connor Edwards will come out after being teleported back to the pit lane. And, well, if you're Joshua Moyers, again, he's just going to let the 70 car on by. No pressure out back. You've got Tate Dorsey, who's the last car on the lead lap. He's just going to let that 70 on by. I believe he might let James Moore on by. He is absolutely babying things right now. He's lost another second to Zach Rogers. But he's just thinking bigger picture right now. That's all you really have to do is think bigger picture here. And we'll go back and I just realized that, you know what, we've got the wrong ticker here. So we'll quickly adjust that. You know, I forgot. Hey, you know what? We have to go ahead and change. We have to go ahead and show that these guys are 2 laps down and who is the leader. So, you know, with 10 laps to go, a little late in the running for that, but you know what? Better late than never. Again, you show the drivers who are a couple laps down. James Moore now 2 laps down in the 07. And 4 really strong cars still on the lead lap. Connor Edwards, he's going to blow the 90 in the Roque Memorial Corner. We were talking about him a little bit earlier on, even though he's 34 seconds back of Zach Rogers. But HB Hardy here at Watkins Glen has been, well, he didn't have a great bus stop there as he's just going to slide the car through. He might lose third here. So Tate Dorsey coming up through the gears. Tate's going to completely cut the corner there, so I'm not sure if he might get a black flag. But HB, he's been around the NR2003 escape for quite some time. He's done a couple of races over on the Fuel Racing League side of things, and mostly in the Hobo Racing League that races on Tuesday nights over on Andrew Miller's channel over on Top Dragster Racing Network. Go check out him. He's awesome. Plenty of great NR2003 broadcasts, and not a great moment there for James Moore as he blew a right front tire. Fortunately, he's able to limp that Mustang back to the pit area, but a bad day will get worse for the 07, and he will likely fall down a 3rd lap as Tate goes wide going through the corner once again. Under 10 to go. Coming around to 8 laps to go here for Rogers. And you know we thought Joshua Moyers, he won the pole here in the 68. He was really good in the opening stages, but you get down to the nitty-gritty in a race like this where you're just repetitive, going lap after lap after lap. You know, eventually things are just going to edge out in favor of the Bulldog, and I'm sounding like a broken record at this point, but we know how good Zach Rogers is on these road courses and how strong of a driver he is. He was Mr. September here in NR2003 Online back last September, where he won everything in the Fuel Racing League. You go back to Season 7, where he won, I think, all but maybe 2 or 3 races in the Grand National Series back in Season 7, because Jelaine Sims, his development driver for Velocity Racing. Is it Velocity? We'll double check that here. But Jelaine Sims, she was battling with Zach at Mid-Ohio in a right down to the wire battle. That was fantastic. Talladega, that was Crystal Bennett. That was her cup of tea as Moore's going to head down the pit lane once again after going down a 3rd lap. And it's Team Velocity, just to confirm that there for Zach Rogers' Fuel Racing League program, along with Jelaine Sims. We'll hopefully see Zach in some capacity here on Wednesday nights here in the near future. Speaking of Wednesday nights and just speaking of the upcoming schedule, taking a look at our upcoming broadcast slate here on the North American Sim Racing Network, beginning this Wednesday on May 13th, when we will be right back to the top of the pylon here for the Fuel Grand National Series, the All-Star Race at the Dover Motor Speedway kicking off. It's actually going to be kicking off at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, with the qualifying races are going to kick off at 8:30, and we'll go live at 8:20 here this Wednesday night for the Fuel All-Star Race here for 2026. Cannot wait for that. Then we go back onto the offline slate a little bit here with the Mission Barbecue Cup Series race at the Dover Motor Speedway. That's going to be on the 16th of Saturday. And then we do have a couple of fast races as well that we have yet to put on the schedule, but Sunday the 17th will be fast at Hickory, and then we'll go to the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Fuel Grand National Series, as well as the Mission Barbecue Cup Series and the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series. Same thing with Nashville next week, and then we go to Wednesday, May 29th. Wednesday, May 29th, we're back with the Fuel Sportsman Series from the Talladega Superspeedway. That will get underway at 9:50 here on the North American Sim Racing Network, your home for the Fast Racing League, the Fuel Racing League, and all sorts of NR2003 offline content as well. And we'll take a look at the rest of the Fast Renegade Segment 2 schedule here for the RPCS. Starting off with the Hickory Motor Speedway on Sunday, May 17th. Same thing, we'll go to Charlotte, then Nashville the fortnight after Hickory. A great race at Michigan. That's going to be fun. Pocono will be likely our first tape-delayed broadcast of the season. We'll get a confirmed broadcast schedule next week at Hickory, but I plan to be going to the Pocono Raceway with my girlfriend Emily. But overall, that'll be fun. And still we'll have to see if the San Diego gets created here in NR2003. I don't know if it will be. My guess is we might run Riverside. I would not be opposed to running Riverside here for fast. We'll have a talk with Randall Coleman. But I think that would be a great backup race if the Qualicom race course doesn't get created here in NR. Oh, boy, Zach Rogers. That's the first mistake the Bulldog has made here tonight, going through the inner loop. And he was fortunately able to save it, but now the question begs, with under 5 laps to go, how much tire wear is that going to cost him, as John Foreman doing some agricultural work going through the bus stop as well, with only 4 cars on the lead lap. Do we see Zach Rogers come down the pit lane? Those tires are really squealing there in that 6 car. He will stay out for now. And you go back here to Joshua Moyers. He has lost a lot of time. Since the last time we've noticed him, he's lost an additional 10 seconds to that 6 car. We'll see if he'll stay out. He will. Remember, Moyers, he's going to be cutting it very close on fuel here in the 68. He's going to be very close, maybe 1 lap short. I wouldn't be surprised. You come down now, you've got a lap over your championship adversary. And you've essentially, this championship is essentially in the bag here, unless Moyers royally bends it. But I really don't think he is. He has been on rails so far tonight, not quite to the extent of Zach Rogers being on rails. It'll take 3 laps to go this next time by, but you're just running qualifying. You're not even running Q laps. You're running practice laps. You are just babying this car around the course if you're Joshua Moyers. 3 laps to go this next time by here for Zach Rogers. He's going to catch up to Connor Edwards, who's already 1 lap down. But going back to the rest of the schedule, we will be on a road course anyway the week after Sunday, June 21st, Father's Day weekend, when we go to the Sonoma Raceway. That will be another tape-delayed broadcast as well. We'll go to the Chicagoland Speedway. That will likely be tape delayed as well, as I'll be away on the 4th of July weekend, that entire weekend. Then we go to the Atlanta Motor Speedway on the high banks of Echo Park Raceway on Sunday, July 12th. Another tape delayed race from the North Wilkesboro Speedway as Connor Edwards blows through the bus stop. Zach Rogers going sideways through the corner, but he's able to keep things underneath of him right now. From North Wilkesboro, we go to Indianapolis. From Indy, we go to Iowa, and we'll round out segment 2 here of 2026 at the Richmond Raceway at Strawberry Hill. At the driver's favorite racetrack there at Strawberry Hill in the capital of the Commonwealth of Virginia in the Old Dominion State. Well, that'll round out segment number 2 schedule here for the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series. And of course, that is a tentative broadcast schedule as of right now, as James Moore, not sure what the deal is there for the 07. He is, although I think he might just try to be parking it for the rest of the race, with sticks high in the air for Zach Rogers. 2 laps to go. And he's built himself up a 21-second lead over Joshua Moyers, and HB Hardy is about a minute behind Zach Rogers right now, and Zach is just running his own race and everybody else just trying to play it safe. But what a season it has been for Joshua Moyers. 3 wins on the year. You know, a lap and a half away from a Segment 1 championship. You know, and he's just been running his lines all season long. You know, it hasn't been too flashy, and he's just been getting those solid podium finishes and those solid finishes as white flags in the air. One more time around Watkins Glen International for Zach Rogers. The final lap has begun here in Segment 1 here for the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series. Joshua Moyers through turn 6 for the penultimate time. And for Randall Coleman, who came in just 1 point behind Joshua Moyers, he's going to be looking ahead right off the hop to Hickory next week, trying to reset here for segment 2. All you can do is put this segment in the rear view and look ahead through the bus stop for one final time. Rogers just going to gingerly make his way through the inner loop. Fortunately, not hitting any sort of kids. Joshua Moyers just now making his way towards the back straightaway. Off through this short chute one final time through turn number 6 and heading off towards turn number 7. There is absolutely no stopping this man on the road courses. And once again, Zach Rogers, as he rounds turn number 7, will see the checkered flag waving in the air, and the Bulldog pulls it off once again, leads wire to wire at Watkins Glen to win the Road Racing Rumble. Rogers will burn it down here at the front straightaway and coming off turn number 7. The match race came down to the wire at the start, and Connor Edwards spins right in front of the 68. It's not going to matter. Joshua Moyers with a runner-up finish will be your Segment 1 champion here for the 2026 season of the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series. Congratulations to Joshua Moyers, and congratulations to Zach Rogers as well. And here we go. I thought it was going to be a really good battle there between Tate Dorsey and HB Hardy. Tate ran out of fuel. Did HB also run out of fuel? He did. Oh, we're going to have a coast-off here for third, as I think HB is definitely going to have it, as he will see the Octane checkered flag. He will coast his way to a third-place finish. And Tate Dorsey will round out the cars that were on the lead lap. And how about that? They were so close on fuel for those two, and they were just able to stretch it to a 2-stop race. Or to a 1-stop race, I should say. And there is your race winner and your champion. Side by side, giving each other a little bit of a love bump going down the short chute here at Watkins Glen. And what a race we had here. And Zach Rogers kicking butt, taking names, and drinking liquid death the entire way, and that's exactly what you've got to do. Randall Coleman just going to come up a little bit short here in this championship battle. I believe he is also out of gas as well. He's going to give his teammate a congratulatory bump. Will be on his way. Zach Rogers looking to burn it down. Does he have enough gas at the end here? He is going to have enough gas. Zach Rogers fueling victories. He is your winner. And Joshua Moyers, your champion. The two champions burning it down, giving the fans a smoke show here at Watkins Glen International. How about this? See if Zach Rogers has enough gas in the tank to try and do his signature John Force style burnout. But the winner and the champion side by side with one another. Zach Rogers dominates, leads every single lap here at Watkins Glen to win. And Joshua Moyers, your segment 1 champion here for the 2026 season of the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series. But that is just the midway point of our coverage here tonight. As coming up here shortly, we're going to have our post-race interviews with our podium drivers with Zach Rogers, Joshua Moyers, HB Hardy, and Randall Coleman as well. We'll hear from all 4 of them here in just a couple of moments. We are top-down running through your top-down order here for all 10 drivers. Zach Rogers wins by 25 seconds over Joshua Moyers. He leads all 32 laps to win here tonight. Joshua Moyers finishes in second to get the championship. HB Hardy was able to gain third. Tate Dorsey was the last driver on the lead lap. He was fourth. John Foreman rounded out the top 5 despite that setback after his only set of pit stops, or after his only set of non-penalty pit stops. Blake Warren got 6th. Randall Coleman was 7th. Connor Edwards was 8th. Tyler Stallhood was 9th. And James Moore was 6 laps off the pace, and he retired late in the running here at Watkins Glen. But that's just the opening portion of our broadcast. We'll be back here in just a couple of moments when we'll bring in top 4 drivers to talk about the race and to talk about their expectations here for segment 2 here for the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series, your coverage here on the North American Sim Racing Network.
Channel
I was
switched.
like, come back, rubber. Well, it's hard to see everything on a road course.
Don't worry, it was all going downhill before that. Yeah, but I also had no third gear and no first gear. Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. Watkins Glen, I love it, and it's just not been nice to me the last couple seasons.
All right, so
Yep.
Probably talk to me first because Josh won the title. Yep, that's good with me.
Channel switched. Channel switched. User was moved out of your channel. User was moved out of your channel. User was moved out of your channel. Channel switched.
A green flag wire-to-wire dominating race here by Zach Rogers has just concluded at Watkins Glen, and Zach Rogers leads all 32 laps to win the Road Racing Rumble here at Watkins Glen, the segment finale here for segment 1 of the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series, part of the Fast Racing League's coverage on the North American Sim Racing Network here on YouTube. My name is Trey Wright for tonight's Intercast, and we'll bring in our drivers that we will all talk to here in just one moment. But Zach Rogers wins the race. Joshua Moyers wins the championship. First and foremost, we're going to talk with our first place driver, the race winner here tonight here.
User was moved
Leading
to your channel.
all 32 laps on the night and dominating wire to wire. The Bulldog himself, Mr. Zach Rogers. You got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth?
I sure do, Trey. What's up, man?
Not that much. You were certainly up as you led every single lap here tonight. You go into this race, you know, you're always so dominant on these road courses here, and it doesn't matter what league you're in, whether it's fast, whether it's fuel, whether it's whatever you're running, you're always so dominant on these road courses. But it's something about Watkins Glen that just really clicks with you. What's really your favorite part about Watkins Glen coming here, and how are you able really to see the track a little bit differently than everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I've just always loved the track. It was the first road course that I got pretty decent at on NR2003 about 8 years ago now, 2018. So I've just always had a knack for it, whatever it be with my driving style, and over the years I've just slowly gotten better and better and more refined and more consistent in certain places. There have been turns 6 and 7 usually have been my worst corners on the track, but this year, between Wednesday night and Thursday night at Bomb Squad and then here tonight at Fast, they've been like better corners than I've ever driven them before. So just slowly get more used to the track layout. And this was way different geometry and setup style than the 2 races I ran earlier in the week. So I had to really spend time in practice adapting to the different geometry, because the bus stop on this track is completely a different approach than what I ran Thursday night.
Yeah, this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is completely built from the ground up track here. For Watkins Glen, and it certainly has its different challenges here. It certainly was pretty challenging for a lot of drivers tonight. We saw you even have a couple of moments where you locked up in the bus stop, maybe just once or twice compared to the 8 or 9 times we saw from some other drivers out on track. But overall, you were here bits and pieces throughout this season. You were in the fight for the championship coming into tonight, and you knew that Joshua Moyers and Randall Coleman were going to be fighting amongst themselves and trying to play it a little bit safe in that department. Whatever, did that really just allow you to be like, okay, everybody's going to be running their race, let me just do my thing and kick everybody's faces in?
Yeah, I didn't even really think about it, to be honest. I was just out here to have a good time. Randall and Josh are teammates of mine, and they're also both really great on the road courses. So I knew it was going to be a good fight. I remembered from last year when we ran this in, I think it was August, because that's when they ran it in real life. I was sick, and I kind of got lucky last year because Randall went 5 mile an hour slower down pit road than he needed to. And that allowed me a little bit of a gap. But I remember from last year's race that when I was behind another car, it's like dirty air here was ridiculous. And that dirty air kind of hurt Josh tonight. He was behind me that whole first stint, and I saw about 10 laps in, he started to fade from where he was behind me. and he came over the radio, and said, "Oh, right front's about to go down. I got to pit early," and I was like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm good now as long as it stays green." The right front here just grinds itself off no matter what, which is crazy to think about because there's really only 3 left-hand turns on this track. You've got the left-hander up the S's, which is where it burns off the most. You've got the little bit in the bus stop, and then you've got turn 6. But something about the setup and just the nature of this track, really, at any version, the right front just likes to burn off.
Yeah, especially with the elevation changes. You mentioned it really burning off going up through the S's there. Yeah, as somebody that the other day when I was doing the track walk at Watkins Glen, part of the ARCA weekend, that is a tough hill to get up. It's about a 55 feet elevation difference, about 5 stories of elevation from the bottom of the S's to the top. And with it being a left-handed turn, like you said, that is really just going to dig in on that left side. That is just going to destroy the rubber on that right front tire like you were talking about. And we saw a lot of drivers really struggle with a tire conservation. We had a couple of blowouts from some drivers tonight, but you were able to make this into a one-stop race and able to dominate here in Zach Rogers fashion. But looking ahead to segment 2, we've released the schedule out on stream. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's pretty much in line of what we've got with the NASCAR Cup Series in terms of the schedule. And it's a diverse amount of tracks like we've got in the NASCAR Cup Series. We've got Michigan, we've got Pocono, but we've got Hickory coming up next week. I know you're going to be looking forward to a lot of the road courses. We've got Sonoma and potentially even the Coronado base track if that gets created by the time we come there on Father's Day weekend. But what are you looking for personally going into segment 2 of the season? And, what are you looking for out of yourself here for the rest of 2026?
Sorry, I had to post a photo real quick in the Discord.
All good,
I will
man.
not be here the rest of the year. I'm actually going to take a hiatus from the game. I wanted to come out one more night here with my guys at Fast after having a great last few years with these guys. Randall got me on his team. I've been running Chevys ever since because of Randall. Anytime I've signed up for a league and I'm like, I might run something else, and Randall's like, you don't want to be on the team anymore? And I'm like, well, hell yeah, I'll run Chevys for you at another league. So I've been running Chevys under the Revolution banner now, I think since 2024. And crazy to think about because like 6 years ago, Randall and I were at each other's throats. Back when I was a little bit dumber and didn't have proper respect on the track. So kind of cool how times can change and you can get along with people that you used to not get along with. And just can't thank Randall enough for putting the league on. I know the counts aren't probably where he wants them to be, but the game's in a different era now. And in my opinion, the good quality leagues are leagues that are getting 10 to 15 to maybe 20 people on a given week. So I kind of appreciate the laid back nature of having 10 guys out there on track tonight. Everyone gets spaced out and, it kind of just turns into don't make a mistake, which for the record, when I went into the bus stop and almost died, I was too busy yapping over my whisper button. My whisper button gets pressed by my right thumb. And I have a H pattern, so I kind of can't press that and downshift at the same time. So I got myself super distracted, which just shows you even someone like myself who can be on it. If I take my eyes off the track, I might wreck it. So after that, I was like, I'm gonna shut up now, get through these last 5 laps or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure they'll have a great time in the segment 2. And I hope, Dunn unfortunately couldn't make it tonight for personal reasons. I hope Dunn's able to run the full segment if he doesn't have anything come up and he can get himself maybe a segment 2 title or segment 3 because Dunn's got a ton of speed anywhere he goes.
He definitely does. And there is obviously a lot of talent here in Fast. And like you were talking about, it seems like the limited field counts is where the real talent is here with modern day NR. And I think, the Fast Racing League is a fantastic example of that. Just the amount of talent we've got here. A caution-free race at a road course, you don't hear that often in NR 2003 online these days. But it was a great race. It was a race where you could not make mistakes, like you said. If you made mistakes, it was going to come back to bite you. And overall, you were able to remain relatively mistake-free. We'll throw that entry and exit through the bus stop with 5 laps to go into the garbage bin. But overall, really great race out of you tonight, and really great to see your teammate hoist the championship as well, and looking ahead to Season 2 here for him. But Zach, you know the drill by now. We'll give you the floor to thank anybody you want. If there's any sponsors you want to shout out here for our dominating race winner of the night, Zach Rogers, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I first got to shout out Josh. He's actually never won a full season title under the Fast brand. We used to run the playoff format, and something he'd always either get second or just have something happen to him. And, now it's a different format this year, but, segment championship, still a championship. So I'm totally stoked for Josh. Obviously who knows what would have been if Dunn was here, but you take him where you get him. Want to thank Randall, of course, for having me on his team and putting the league on. Got to win Watkins Glen 2 years in a row after 2 years ago. Randall and I thought it was a 2-stopper, but we didn't realize you could make it on 1 stop. So Randall and I had the wrong strategy 2 years ago. So stinks he couldn't keep the car under him, and he had the bad RNG with the gear failures. But it was a fun time, and just kind of cool to have Watkins Glen be my last race online for a while, because it's just been such a good track to me. This was my big time brag moment here. 20th win on this layout, on the game, 13th fixed setup win at this track, across however many versions that run the NASCAR layout. And, just happy to be able to put a complete race together. Didn't get the pole, but, led every lap, got the good jump on the start. And, it all worked out. Got to thank my painter, Cody Lamas, for all the sick paint schemes. Cool to have Liquid Death on the car again tonight. And got to thank you, of course, for doing the broadcast. You've been doing a great job out there. A name that I just learned of, I think, last year. And you've been doing great in the online broadcast scene. The online broadcast scene, in my opinion, I'll say this because I don't care. I won't be around for the rest of the year. So the online broadcast scene has really suffered in terms of quality lately. There's a lot of good presentation out there, but there's a lot of commentary that just lacks good, proper commentary or enthusiasm or motivation, compassion, whatever you want to call it. And you've really been able to bring all of that together, and you've done a really good job. So just keep at it. You improve every race you do, and just keep going. As long as you want, because you're doing a great job with your presentation and your commentary.
Well, it definitely means a lot from you, and it's really been a journey for me myself throughout this whole sphere, and that truly means a lot, man. So thank you so much for that, and hopefully we'll see you back after your sabbatical here over the next couple months, and NR Online, despite how it is a little bit away from the Fast Racing League. It's certainly not the same without you. So thank you so much for, kicking everybody's faces in and putting on a pretty good show for us here tonight. And we'll see you around the block, man.
Yeah, you can hear me on Top Dragster Tuesday night, Hobos at Watkins Glen. So I'll be doing that with Andrew Miller. And then I believe they're also running Sonoma and Road America later in the year. So I'll definitely jump in the booth for those. But yeah, otherwise I am in hiatus mode.
We'll have to certainly see you around then, but first and foremost, thanks for coming on. Congratulations on winning here tonight, and we'll see you when we see you, man.
I'll see you later, man. Good job.
Thank you.
User was moved
That was
out of
Zach
your
Rogers,
channel.
driver of the number 6 Liquid Death Chevrolet Camaro for Revolution Motorsports, your winner in dominating fashion here at Watkins Glen International. Finally, time in to bring the man of the hour,
User was moved to
the
your
driver of the
channel.
number 68 Busch Light Chevrolet for Revolution Motorsports, your champion. Joshua Moyer's got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth.
I got you, Trey. Doing all right?
I'm doing fine. I think you're doing a little bit, you're doing pretty fine as well, getting your first ever full segment championship here tonight in dramatic fashion midway through the race. First and foremost, congratulations on a well-deserved championship here for you tonight.
Thank you, Trey. We have been trying to get some form of hardware here for years and always just fall up short. It's like it may not be a full season championship, but at this point, I'm gonna take whatever I can get.
Hey, like you said, you'll get you'll take what you can get. It doesn't matter how you get it done. It just matters that you cross that cross that finish line first to try to get this championship. But we're coming out of last weekend. It was when you saw that deficit between yourself, Randall Coleman, and Dunlop Rod being just 3 points separating you guys, and then coming into tonight, go a couple days ago when you found out it's going to be a match race between you and Randall with Dunn being out of the equation. Coming into tonight, how does that really set up your focus where you're going to be battling your teammate at a very technical track and a very fast track like Watkins Glen International?
Yeah, it definitely changed things up a little bit. You still gotta focus on the track. It's like this version in particular, there were several places on the track that could get up and bite you. I know Zach about ate it once during the race. There's a couple times I came close to being on the bad end there, and unfortunately, I think Randall had some issues there in that first stint. I think he ripped a gear or two maybe out of his transmission. I could hear him going from I think it was he get to backstretching and just didn't have fourth gear, and so I think he was really charging the brake zones trying to keep up with us, and he was doing really good for a few laps, but it was just killing his tires, and I think ultimately I don't know if he hit the dreaded bump over there in the bus stop or if he got a flat tire, but he ended up in the tires. And at that point, my race kind of changed. I was having fun racing with Zach, but he's here just for the win. I'm kind of looking at the bigger picture, and I had to pit a lap early because I did have some wear on my right front, um, and so I was going to have to stretch the fuel and stretch the tires that last run. So I just kind of took it easy and try to make sure not to make a mistake and keep all four wheels on the tarmac.
Well, you pretty much took the next question I had out of my mouth there with analyzing the unfortunate series of events that we saw with Randall Coleman, where he unfortunately had not only blowing a right front tire, which we'll get to that in a second, but unfortunately also losing first and third gears before that with the unfortunate RNG at a track like Watkins Glen. But we were talking a little bit with Zach Rogers early on just how much tire wear mattered at a track like this and how much you really beat up the right front. When you're just trying to baby it around the track and make sure that you don't unfortunately mess anything up, how hard is it to drive a track like Watkins Glen where you know that, hey, you're not going for the win, you're just trying to save your stuff and you're just trying to baby that car back to just trying to get to the checkered flag and especially just trying to stretch it into one stop?
Yeah, it is difficult. Not as difficult as when all three of us were close together like that. It's a nice edge. Between you know running that fast and making a mistake and bending it into a fence or a wall. It was definitely a lot easier. Some of I was coasting in a few places trying to save fuel, so sometimes it can be a little tricky. You got to make sure you're in the right gear when you let back out of the clutch for the braking zone and everything like that. So there's a lot going on in the driver's head and in the cockpit. So you just got to make sure you're keeping on top of everything. And you know, luckily I didn't have a lot of traffic around me. Foreman was behind me there for a couple laps, and I eventually just pulled over and let him go and just kind of followed him around the rest of that second run. Because the less distractions you got around you, the better, especially when you're trying to prolong the life of the tires and get an extra lap or two out of your fuel tank.
It definitely is, and we saw that you were really backing up a lot throughout that last end of the run there, and Zach was pretty much just pulling an SVG where he was just cruising on to the end there, where he was just pretty much out of sight in his own zip code here in the Finger Lakes. But looking at the big picture, what does it really mean to finally get a championship here in the Fast Racing League? You've been pounding in this league, pounding here in the RPCS for years, and then looking into segment 2, Dunn's going to be back in a big way. We know Randall's going to be back in a big way, and we're going to hopefully get a lot more talent here coming up through the pipeline. But how does it feel to win this championship, and what are you looking forward to ahead in segment 2?
Yeah, it means a lot to me. I'm super excited about this. I'm gonna brag to the family and work buddies about it. And it's fun to race, with the guys that are here. There's some really talented uh, group of individuals here, and to be able to come out on top, uh, racing those guys. I was super sad to see that Dunn couldn't make it. For tonight, because it would have been a hell of a battle between the three of us to see who come out on top. So when he announced that he couldn't make it tonight, I was a little bummed about that, but I'm not going to let it dampen my spirits. We're going to celebrate tonight and probably into the next week. But then, we got to get right back at it. I mean, this is the end of segment 1. Segment 2 starts next week. It's like we got after we drink a few beers and whatnot and sober up, it's right back at it. We're gonna, now that we won segment 1, our next goal is to win segment 2. If we win segment 2, try to do the clean sweep. So looking forward to it. I know I may miss a race or two. Unfortunately, we got some camping trips and stuff like that set up during the summer. So I'll have to see if what the rules are, like how many races you can miss per segment and still be eligible. Hopefully hopefully there's something in there or a caveat in there that will still let me race for it. But we'll see regardless either way. So
Well, we shall definitely see, and hopefully we'll try to get you in as many races as possible next segment, and just trying to get things going here to trying to go 2 for 2 here in 2026. But like you said, you've got the next week. You got really the next 2 weeks here with Hickory being an exhibition race here before we get into the 13 race slate. But overall, big props to you guys for getting it done and just getting everything done here in dramatic fashion here at Watkins Glen, and a well-deserved celebration coming up for you guys later on here after the broadcast. But Josh, before we'll let you guys go party hard here and drink probably one or too many Busch Lights after tonight, we'll give you the floor to thank anybody you want. If there's any sponsors you want to shout out here on the NESRN, anybody you want to thank for the Segment 1 champion of the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series, Joshua Moyers, the floor is yours, my man.
thanks, Trey. Yeah, I gotta thank you for putting on the broadcast. It's always fun to go back and watch these races. I gotta thank Dunn and Randall, as well as everybody else on the track for the fun racing this segment. 12 hard weeks, and it comes down to the last race. To be only separated by 1 point. I guess 3 points for the three of us. That's pretty crazy over the course of 3 months. So thanks to them and everyone else. Gotta say hi to my wife. Gotta thank the sponsors. Got Busch Light, Cincinnati, Bass Pro Shops. We're doing good. So we're going to continue to do good. So time to get this party started.
It definitely is, and you'll go get your party started, and it's going to be a fun week for you here. But like you said, back to the top of the podium, back to the top of the order next week at Hickory. But take the time to celebrate, my man. You guys definitely earned it. Congratulations, Joshua, for winning the Segment 1 championship, and we'll let you go ahead and celebrate and party hard here.
Thanks, Trey. Have a good night.
You as well.
User was moved out
That
of
was
your
Joshua
channel.
Moyers, driver of the number 68 Busch Light Chevrolet Camaro, not Monte Carlo, Camaro, here in the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series. Your winner of Segment 1 here for the Fast RPCS and that number 68 Busch Light Camaro for Revolution Motorsports. And we'll talk to the big boss man himself, who finished second in the point standings.
User was moved to your channel.
Here, driver of the number 9 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet Camaro, just finishing a little bit short after a rough outing here at Watkins Glen. Randall Coleman, you got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth?
I got you.
So unfortunately, Watkins Glen has not been your cup of tea after unfortunately speeding on pit road last year and then coming into this year where it seemed like you really couldn't catch a break right from the drop of the hat. What really kind of went wrong in your way here coming into this race or coming out of this race?
Uh, you know, we wound up losing a gear. I don't know, around first 10 laps of the race, and then kind of tried to push a little bit too hard, and then wound up blowing that tire. But um, beginning of the race looked promising. I think we were definitely faster than the 68. Uh, we ran up on him a couple of times and just kind of just seeing what we could do, and then kind of played a little bit of a cat and mouse game there until we wound up losing third gear. Um, but felt like we were faster, especially in the long run. After we got up out of the bus stop, we were kind of fast, a little bit faster than him through that area. Um, Definitely a little bit faster going up the S's. I don't know if it could did maybe a little bit draft related, like being right up tucked up against somebody, getting a little bit more uh, looseness on the car. But you know, we definitely had the speed. We had the speed even after we tore third gear. I felt like we were still probably a top three car if we wouldn't have blew that tire. So unfortunate, but that sums up the segment one for us pretty much. You know, we had probably 3 or 4 races won this season that we've had internet issues that we fell out of. We were in first place at Daytona, the opening race of the season, and fell out from the lead. Was dominating the race at Colorado and fell out and was in the lead of that one and fell out. Bristol, we fell out in that race. We were up front. So just a couple, 2 or 3 races here or there that could have been a different outcome that kind of bit us all the way up to the end of this segment.
Yeah, and unfortunately, those unfortunate situations tend to add up towards the end, and you go into this race with a championship battle so tight between yourself, Joshua, and then Dunn until earlier on this week when he unfortunately couldn't make it. But recapping segment one, just from a fast perspective, you know, we saw some decent field sizes here and there, and we saw some really great racing. So what were your really takeaways here from this first segment of 2026? And looking ahead to segment two, we went over the season schedule on the stream. We'll go over it once again here after the post-race interviews to let everybody know when we can expect some fast racing stuff here on the NES Arena, when everybody can really just try and race here if they want to join the Discord server down below. But what were your looking back at segment one? How can you really recap it here, and what were your takeaways, and then can we really expect here in segment two?
Well, first and foremost, we were able to have, like you said, decent car fields. But the group of people that we have here are just, extraordinary. We don't really have that much aggression towards one another. Everybody seems to get along with everybody, and everybody comes in here with that competitive mindset, knowing that, like, hey, at the end of the day, things are going to happen. But for the most part, everybody gets along with everybody. We have that great group. You always see all these other places with these really big car fields and stuff, and sometimes you have things that happen or that they're wind up being like unfortunately wreck fest and stuff like that, and a lot of people don't like that. I think here with an average car field, I think we have 10-15 drivers on average between that range most of the time. um, that seemed to be where everybody was kind of all on the same page. As much as I would like to see more cars show up, especially for segment two, if we keep that average all the way through the season, I think we'd have a good season, or a good year, I should say. But I think the biggest thing that stands out is we ran 13 races this season or this segment. Um, and of those 13 races, we had 8 different winners. I don't think you go out there and you look around the NR2003 community that you're going to find that many different winners in that short a period of time. I know like I keep tabs on certain leagues and stuff like that, and usually see the same person winning multiple races, you know, um, on a week to week basis. So being able to have 8 different winners in 13 races, we had Dunn and Josh both win 3 races, and Zach win 2. Um, but still, with them winning that many races, I mean, we were right up there. We could have probably won probably 2 or 3 more ourselves. But like I said, things happen. Um, but to see that diversity is really, really awesome. Um, Looking into this next segment, um, you can see the same results. You can see um, anywhere from 5 to even out of 13 races, you can see maybe 10 different drivers next season. Um, some of these guys will repeat, but with it being a new segment, it would basically recount for like what a season would be. Um, I wouldn't be surprised. Fast has usually been pretty good about getting different drivers winning over here just because of the competitiveness that we bring to the table. Um, we had, I know we had people who aren't racing with us anymore that came over here and raced with us that we wind up in the winner's circle from time to time. But, you know, with the group that we have now, there was guys who were probably competitive this season that didn't make it to the winner's circle. And I could see them definitely doing it in segment 2.
I definitely can as well. We've got such a great pedigree of talent here in the fast racing league. Of course, all the guys in Revolution Motorsports, yourself, Joshua, of course, winning the championship. Zach when he was here, and we'll definitely be missing Zach on track here during his hiatus. But he's always really been so strong. Tyler Stallhood, he's also been strong as well. But you also look at some of the other guys as well down the order. Drew Fast, Tate Dorsey, they've been showing some really good speed. Oscar Ramos winning at Talladega earlier on this season. Even go down, Blake Warren, Connor Edwards. They've shown some really good talent here in Fast over the last couple of weeks as well. And we've really just, it's been a showcase of some solid talent here in the NR2003 online community. And that's something that Zach was really hyping on harping on a little bit earlier on, is that you go over to a lot of these other leagues here in NR, where they've got 30-car fields. Yeah, it's a little bit more exciting optics-wise, or it's a little bit more exciting because, hey, there's going to be a ton of crashes and it's going to be a gong show to an extent. But you go to these, small field sizes, about 10 to 15 cars, and you've got 10 to 15 really good drivers putting on a show. I think Texas last week and Watkins Glen here today were fantastic examples of that. You don't need a big field size to put on an exciting race and an intriguing race, and we saw that here tonight, and we're going to see that a lot here in segment 2.
Yeah, for sure. I think like we had a couple people who showed up from time to time this season. For example, you know, um, Jess Hanna came over here and raced at Daytona. He's usually really good at super speedways. Jack Merkel made an appearance, and when he shows up to race, he's always going to bring his A game. Um, we had Mike Carroll here, who's been winning some races here and there now lately at his home league MOT as well as over at ISRL. So, and then you mentioned Tate Dorsey. Tate's always been really consistent. Um, he wound up getting a win last season over here, and when RJ Bishop shows up and races too, RJ's usually a good one to be up there in the front and be competitive. And then um, another one who really showed speed this past season, that he didn't make the playoffs. He missed it by one race. He was one race short, but he was consistent. He was really strong at Kansas. He really showed his muscle at Kansas as Santee. Um, Got driver of the 81. He was really fast there at Kansas, and I think he had some bad luck there, but he was one race shy of making the playoffs. And if he would have made the playoffs, he could have been a factor in there, especially with the way he ran at Kansas. So, you got that group of guys, and then who knows who else is going to join us for segment 2 that's going to come in here and jump into the mix.
Yeah, certainly. We've got a lot of really good talent, like we were talking about. Dunn LaPrade, Jack Merkel coming here, Santiago Gutierrez, like you were saying, John Foreman, who got a win this year early on at Bristol. Some really fantastic. James Moore as well, and HB Hardy, who came in here tonight. Some really fantastic talent pedigree here in the Fast Racing League. And again, if you're interested in joining the Fast Racing League, link for the Discord down in the description box below. And we highly encourage everybody to try and check out here. It's a very relaxed atmosphere, but it's a pretty great crop of talent like we're talking about, and it's such a great product that you've been able to really put on here the last couple of years, Randall, and we're proud to really be a part of it here on the NASRN.
Yeah, it's been really good, and like I said, looking forward to what the next segment holds. Got some really good races coming up. Couple new things coming out. Hopefully, knock on wood. But hopefully this season we can this 9 car can turn it around and knock the dust back off and get back into victory lane more than once.
We definitely are. We'll look forward to that here in the next couple of weeks. But before we let you go, Randall, we'll give you the floor to thank anybody that you want. If there's anybody that you want to shout out here on the NASRN, any sponsors you want to thank, the floor is yours for the captain of this fast ship here, Randall. Randall Coleman, the floor is yours, my man.
Well, I want to give a shout out to my team. Even though we had some bad luck tonight, we still drove our butts off there at the end and ran some really good lap times. Can't thank Napa and Amazon and all the other sponsors that I'm going to have on the car the rest of this season for being on board, supporting us. I'm going to give a shout out to my girlfriend. Like I said, she allows me to come on here and race every Sunday night with these guys. So better give her a shout out so I don't get yelled at. Gotta give a big shout out to my teammates, Josh, Tyler, Zach. Zach coming in here, running what's going to be his last race for a little while with us or within NR. Don't know exactly the whole extent of that, but it's always been a pleasure to have him over here. We've had some issues in the past, and we worked those things out, and he came on, joined my team, and it's been a great asset and a teammate, through the last couple of years of having him over here with us. So, he went out there and got that win tonight. Great way to kind of finish his season, or however we want to go about it with him. But no matter what he does in his future, we're always going to be here rooting for him, and he knows that he's got a spot here when he comes back. Big shout out to Josh. Unfortunately, I wish we wouldn't have tore that third gear. Maybe we wouldn't have blew that tire, and we could have gave him a race for that championship. But came out on top, got that championship, another one for Revolution Motorsports. So at the same time, is it hard to be mad that you lose the championship, but you also win the championship as the owner? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that's supposed to work.
It's a double-edged sword.
It is. It hurts that you don't win it, but at the same time, it stays in the team. So that's the big thing. So, can't be happy enough for him to come out here and win. It's been a little while since he's actually gotten a championship under his belt. So to be able to go out here and get it done, get another one for Revolution Motorsports, that's a big thing for us. Disappointed, kind of saddened about the unexpected thing with Dunn. Just want to give Dunn a shout out for pushing everybody this season. I mean, he was the guy to beat, I think, coming into the night. Don't know what would have been the outcome, but Dunn definitely set the competitive level this season. So kind of unfortunate that he had something come up, family related, that caused him to miss tonight. But I'm sure he'll be back segment 2, ready to go, and he's going to give everybody a run for their money, I'm sure. So, got to give everybody else a shout out too. All these guys that came out here each week, like we said, average 10 to 15 drivers a week. Came out here and raced this segment. Can't thank them enough for being a part of it. Like I said, everything resets now. So we're back to square one for segment 2. I was just telling them we are keeping an overall point standing throughout the whole entire year. But segment 2, it resets. So it's a whole different one. The whole different playoffs, different group of people possibly making those playoffs. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to having these people come back and race with us each and every week. Looking forward to the new people showing up if we get some. Like I said, the summer stretch, I think is going to be one of the funnest ones we have. Um, a lot of really good tracks coming up. Uh, Hopefully, Area 23, which is our track making group, myself and Tate are able to get the final kinks worked out so we can run a San Diego road course or street course, I should say. If we can get that done, that'll be pretty fun for everybody to take a part of and be a part of that to race. So, like I said, should be fun. I want to thank you for coming on board and doing these races. We haven't really gotten to talk a whole lot about it, but you came in here the last couple weeks and showcased what we have here, what we do, how we do it. So all those viewers out there watching and stuff, they want to come race. I know you said you got the Discord link posted, so come on out and try to have some fun with us.
I definitely do. And Sunday nights are some of the most fun that you will both watch and race here in NR2003. And I can't wait. If we get a San Diego track out here, that is going to be fun. And, I would be honored to be part of the first NR2003 broadcast to be online, to be part of to showcase what you guys are going to be able to put on, which is going to be an absolute hell of a track here coming up for the Qualicom race course here in the next couple of weeks. But Randall, thank you so much for coming on post race, and unfortunately didn't quite go your way in the championship battle from the driver's perspective, but you were still able to get another championship as an owner. And Hickory next week for the season opener for the exhibition race next week. That is going to be so much fun, and we cannot wait for that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to racing at Hickory. That's one of the tracks I've always wanted to race at. Project Short Track released it. So I was like, why not throw that onto the schedule? Should be a fun little race, little short track racing, kind of get your frustration out early before the new season kicks off. And then we got that Memorial Day weekend. We got Charlotte Coke 600 race. But that's another, I was going to say real quick before we go, that's another thing that we've been able to do here with the Fast Racing League being partnered with Area 23 Track Designs, is we've gotten to showcase and race on these new tracks, that come out for, people. Like we've been able to do LA Coliseum. We got to run the first broadcasted race for that, to showcase it before we released it. Last year we ran Red Bull Ring, one of the tracks that's never been part of NR, or if it has, it's been so, down the road that, there wasn't a new version out. So being able to do that, be able to broadcast that, we did Mexico. Didn't get to do the new layout for Mexico, but that's in the works. And being a part of Fast here, we get to partake in some of that stuff, and we get to race on those tracks before they ever get released to the public. So that's another thing that people can look forward to at Fast is, you always get your hands on the first version of something before it comes out to the public. So that way we can make sure everything's ready to go. I know last year we did Iowa as well. North Wilkesboro was an update that we did. So lots of really cool tracks that we've been a part of. A lot of the tracks are on our schedule today. So that's another thing to look forward to for people who are interested.
We'll definitely have to watch out for that. And you guys put on, as somebody that uses a lot of Area 23 track designs on the offline side of things, you guys obviously put a ton of effort into them, and it is certainly going to be a lot of fun to see what you guys cook up for San Diego. But Randall, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you next week down in Hickory, North Carolina.
Sounds good. Thank you.
User was moved
That was
out
Randall
of your
Coleman,
channel.
driver of the number 9 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet Camaro for Revolution Motorsports. He's going to finish runner-up in the championship battle here at Watkins Glen International. We got a good bird's eye view of Watkins Glen International after a topsy-turvy weekend here at Watkins Glen between, if you know, the zaniness of the ARCA race to a fantastic cup race earlier and an even better Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series race here just wrapping up a little bit ago here on the North American Sim Racing Network. We'll go over the upcoming schedule here for the RPCS here before we'll officially get out of Dodge. Hickory is going to be the first of 14 races that we have got, and that's going to be an exhibition race. So like Randall said, is trying to get all the hiccups out of the way. The rust that will inevitably develop after 1 week of competition, but that's going to be fun. That's going to be next Sunday, May 17th. Then we'll hit the ground running with the points-paying races from the Charlotte Motor Speedway on Memorial Day weekend. Still trying to figure out if that's going to happen during the Coke 600 or not, but that's going to be a boatload of fun. Nashville, Michigan, and Pocono will be the first couple of races coming up here for Segment 2 of the 2026 season of the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series. But overall, could not ask for a better group of people to cover here on Sunday nights here. Part of a fantastic community here in the NR2003 online aspect. And again, link for the Fast Discord server down in the description box below. And that is going to do it here for tonight's broadcast. Before we officially get out of Dodge, we'll go ahead. That's the fuel theme, but we've got the fuel broadcast coming up here in just a couple of days with the All-Star race here. Coming up on a Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, right here on the NASRN this upcoming Wednesday on the 13th. But before we'll get out of Dodge here tonight, we'll go through the top-down order once again. Zach Rogers wins by 25 seconds, leading all 32 laps. He wins over eventual champion Joshua Moyers. A big congratulations to both of those drivers for winning the race and championship, respectively. H.B. Hardy rounded out the podium. Tate Dorsey finished in 4th. John Foreman rounded out the top 5. He finished in 5th. 6th was Blake Warren. 7th was Randall Coleman. 8th was Connor Edwards. 9th was Tyler Stallhood. And rounding out the top 10 of the 10 cars was James Moore, finishing 6 laps off the pace here this evening. But that's going to wrap it up here for tonight's broadcast. Thanks once again to everybody here for watching tonight's broadcast of the Fast Racing League, part of the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series. Congratulations once again to Zach Rogers for winning the Road Racing Rumble and to Joshua Moyers for winning the Segment 1 championship here. We're back at the top of the heap in just a couple of days, or just about a week or so, from the Hickory Motor Speedway down about an hour southwest, or an hour northwest of Charlotte, North Carolina, of Mooresville, North Carolina, I should say. That's going to be a boatload of fun at the Hickory Motor Speedway. But that is all I've got on behalf of Randall Coleman, Zach Rogers, Joshua Moyers, and everybody at the Fast Racing League. My name is Trey Wright, saying so long from Watkins Glen International. This has been a presentation of the North American Sim Racing Network, your home of the Fast Racing League, Fuel Racing League, and plenty of offline content in between here on the NASRN. First and foremost, before we'll get out of Dodge, we'd like to wish everybody another happy Mother's Day weekend. My mother is probably up wondering where I am, trying to wish her a happy Mother's Day. Shout out to my mom, Luann. Shout out to every mother out there that toils as hard as they can to develop these young drivers, and we would not be anywhere without them. So shout out to all the mothers everywhere. But that's going to do it for tonight's broadcast. On behalf of everybody, like we said, on behalf of the North American Sim Racing Network, my name is Trey Wright, saying so long from Watkins Glen here on tonight's broadcast of the Fast Racing League here on the North American Sim Racing Network. Have a good evening, folks, and enjoy the rest of your week.